Hey guys, so further on, so chapter 8 and above, we'll have, some of the plot is going to be based on actual historical events. This is not to make fun of any historical people slash lie about historical events. They are literally just made up, inspired by actual stories. But anyways, let's get on with chapter 8. The next time came. This time, breakfast had both the king and princess of Tang. Rowan was careful on what he ate this time. Try this instead. He seemed to be cautious of what was given to him prior. Me, gesturing to a different plate that he could eat instead of the one he was given. My, I don't think I have seen you like this to anyone, Tang spoke. Rowan looked at him. Wait, I don't think I have met properly, nor my sister, with you. He shook his head. Shui. He mentioned the lady that's beside him, then continued. I am King Fu Sui Tang. He looked to the boy. This is where you say something. Rowan looked back to me and then to Fu Sui. Rowan Lin. He then began to eat again. My, you have quite the oddball. Fu Sui spoke. He's mine after all. He's here to stay, and I'll make sure that happens. I took a sip of my drink. Didn't you say you were going to get rid of him? Fu Sui smirked. Rowan paused and looked at me. Well, things change, and I'm taking him in fully now. I don't care what the people, church, or other kingdoms think. He will stay by my side. He nodded. Rowan still looked at me until I placed my hand on his head. He nodded and began to eat again. I hope you slept well, though. Fu Sui smiled as he drank his drink. Shui didn't even speak, but only watched her brother, then me. So I heard you picked a wedding dress yourself. She spoke out of something, looking at me. Playing with her food, she then looked back down. I sighed. Why do you care? She hummed. Just wondering. She shrugged, then took a sip from her drink. You'll just have to wait, I smirked, placing my head in my hand. Mama? Rowan grabbed at my sleeve. Yes? I asked, my voice changing as I looked at him. Can I have that? He pointed out to a dish. Following where his hand was pointed, it was a bowl of strawberries. I grabbed the bowl and handed it to him. Be careful now. You'll end up getting juice on your hands. He nodded and took a bite out of one of them. And, well, continued to eat one by one. I swear. I could see Fu Sui staring at him. He really does trust you. He smiled, his hand resting on the table, his head laid in his palm. I smiled. I could feel a vein pop soon. Well, he is my son now. I held his cheek, noted he had some strawberry juice on the other one. Even if he isn't my own flesh and blood. He hummed as I wiped off the strawberry juice. Then may I ask again why you chose him? He tilted his head. I like him. The way he acts, I don't really know anymore. But he's a quick learner. You smiled, not to Fu Sui, but towards Rowan. I could tell he was getting pissed. Why would a noble woman like me, with everything possibly in my hands, now only want to spend time with a poor little dirty bug, huh? That's probably what he's thinking. You know, me and Rowan, we have work to get going to now. I smiled as I stood up, but we don't have to. I shoved another strawberry into his mouth. I see, we have forgotten something. That's not very good of you. I I tapped his shoulder, then looked at Kirishima. Make sure our guests know around the palace. He smiled and nodded. Now, Rowan. I slammed my fan into my hands as we traversed the hallways. I must ask, do you think about the situation going on in Frulin? I asked. He clasped his hands onto my dress, his other hand close to his chest. He seemed to think. Is it that place where parties happen all day? He wondered, tilting his head upwards to look at me. Yes, even throughout the whole night. He seemed to look down. Now tell me, what do you think? I asked again. I would stop partying, he spoke. It was more of a question than an answer, but it will have to do. And with the Tang Kingdom, do you know why they wish for me to be wed to the king? I looked down at him. I don't know. He sulked down. I'm sorry, Mama. He huffed in a tear. Don't cry. I stopped and leaned down, wiping away the tears. I will tell in due time, but there are eyes watching. I picked him up into my arms and started to walk to my office. Sitting in a chair, he sat in my lap. Now listen. I pointed upwards. The Tang Kingdom is weak. Land and power slowly being taken away from them over the years. Once it was called the Fusui Kingdom. It was that. Oh, is that why he is named Fusei? I nodded. They named him in hopes of creating the empire once more. I tapped his nose. But now, explain why you think they went to ruin. I smiled. He seemed to think longer than before. Is it because of the amount of money they spent on fighting, but for it to only ruin them more? He spoke. Yes, because they thought that they could at least win something if they fought in the war for Rutin, sorry. He then looked confused. But aren't we in Rutwin? He tilted his head. Yes, we are. I smiled. And you want to know how? Without arms, without any army to call my own? I tilted my head. Was it because of Daddy? He smiled excitingly. His face seemed to brighten up as I giggled. Yes, indeed. Only the powerful can win a war. But I tapped his nose. Sometimes, when someone who looks weak can sometimes be a raging fire that can kill what you think may be the most powerful person. He nodded. I do hope he understands what I meant. Now, I stood up with him in my arms. We have something to look forward to. An empire we call our own. I smiled, playfully messing with his hair. He giggled as we exited the room.